Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Matt Hester, and in this screencast, we're going to take a look at Solution 11 for Exercise 11 on how to create a deployment share. Now, this screencast is actually kind of cool because it gets to show you some tools that when you've downloaded from the internet in regards to this particular screencast, the Microsoft Deployment Kit, or MDT for short, it comes in with built-in PowerShell commandlets for us to leverage and use. Also for this screencast, if you're going to do this exercise, you need to make sure you have a copy of the Windows 7 source files, the Windows Automated Installation Toolkit, or the WAKE for short, as well as the MDT to make all of this work. Now, in this particular screencast, you also have to make sure when you're working with these commands that you've loaded the actual snap-in for the Microsoft Deployment Toolkit, which is this first command here. I've already gone ahead and done that. Now the first step is just a matter of creating the network share. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this line. Notice it's just basically making a new drive, using the MDT provider, creating it off the root of Win7, which is a directory I already have, setting up the share, and adding persistent connections. So I'm going to go ahead and run that command. It's going to optimize it. Now, basically what it's doing here is copying in all the generic scripts and files into this particular directory, and this should just take just a second for it to work with. But notice how the ISE makes it real easy to work with it. So I've done that first step. I've actually created this particular provider. The second part I'm going to do inside of here is actually import the operating systems into our environment. So I'm going to say import the Win7 operating system. I'm going to give it to the path where the actual source files. This is where you'd have to copy the directory and give it a destination folder. So I'm going to go ahead and run this command. Now, it's going to take a second for it to import this because essentially it is copying the entire Windows 7 source files. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording, and I'll be right back when it's finished. All right, looks like our copying of the source files is just wrapping up right now. Finishing those files, creating them over. Once again, notice the WIM nature of the files that we have for the MDT, copied all over those environments. The next part is actually now to start creating a task sequence for this to work. And I'm just going to use the client XML template that comes built in with the MDT, which is basically just a default install this client, standard deployment. Tell what version. I'm going to be deploying Windows 7 Professional for this particular one. What desktop order, and I'm actually going to set the home page to bing.com, as you might expect. I'm going to go ahead and run this. I've run this little command, and notice it imports a task sequence. It passes out to the actual WIM file for us to use and work with. The next step actually might take a second as well, and this is to actually update the deployment share. And what this does, it creates all the boot images, gets everything pretty much ready to go for our environment. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. And it's going to take a second to execute and run. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording for just a bit, and I'll be back when it's done. All right, looks like my command to update the deployment share has finished. Took just a few minutes to do that. One of the things you might have noticed is that on a lot of these commands I put the verbose switch on, and that's because I want to be able to get output of what's going on or correct any potential issues that may happen as this is running. And you can see that that actual update deployment command does a whole lot of work inside our environment. The last thing I want to show you, and this is the last part of this script, is that now I've created the deployment share, I've created a task sequence, I've updated, I have the image files. Now it's just a matter of me taking that image file that I use and adding it into my WDS environment. Now, technically, this is not a PowerShell command. You'll notice it's just a straight old WDS, and WDS doesn't have PowerShell support, but I can incorporate it inside of my scripts to fully complete the process. So let me run this command and take care of the last part of the screencast. And you notice here, this is simply just copying those files over and working with that environment for us to see and use. This will take a minute. I'm going to go ahead and close out the screencast. Thank you for watching and have a great day.